This week's episode is part of a collaboration between EyeofSol and BulbaTube. Professor Bulba of BulbaTube has invited me to do this review for his channel, and I greatly appreciate this opportunity. Thanks, man. Check out his channel if you want to see more of his videos, and my channel too if you want to see more of my videos. Welcome all, I'm EyeofSol. I have only one rule here. If it's animated, I'll comment on it. Pokémon. I don't really need to say much else. Everybody knows Pokémon. I know it, you know it, even protozoa living at the bottom of the ocean know what Pokémon is. It's so ingrained into our collective consciousness as a species that we actually have Pokémon in our DNA. Yeah, no joke. We have a protein. All mammals actually have a protein that's called Pikachurin, and it's named after Pikachu, and it's in our DNA. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. I'm here to talk about the first Pokémon movie that Nintendo developed, and was the only one I actually saw in the theaters, called Pokémon, the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, or as most people call it, Pokémon, the first movie. Toho released this movie in Japan in 1998, and Warner Brothers distributed it in North America in 1999. When it first came out in the theaters, it was critically panned, but it still managed to be a major box office success. When the movie first came out, it was basically impossible not to know that this movie was in theaters. I mean, the marketing for this movie was just out of control. People who have been in comas know that this movie was in theaters in 1999. If you were a kid and a Pokémon fan at the time, and really, who the hell wasn't? This was like a meeting of the gods. This was the defining moment of many of our childhoods, and it gave us an opportunity to see what we loved from the anime, the video games, the merchandise, the toys, the trading card game. Everything we loved about Pokémon was all going to be shown up on the big screen, and it was going to be awesome. But now, our childhoods are dead. We got bills to pay, we got wars to fight, we got status updates to post, and many of us even have children of our own now. When we look back at the past with nostalgia-tinted glasses, it makes sense that we would grip the things we loved as children close to our hearts, because they brought us so much happiness and wonder. But for this movie, I have none of that. I was too young to remember what I felt when I first saw this movie in theaters, so I have none of that nostalgic feeling when I look at this movie. So I think that's going to be a good thing, actually, looking at this movie. I won't be clouded by nostalgia, but I don't hate Pokémon either, so I'm not going to be bitter and resentful of it. So, how does this movie that defined many of our childhoods hold up today? Well, let's take a look. Just a small note here, I'm only going to be talking about the movie itself. I'm not going to be talking about its connections to the anime, the manga, the video games, the trading cards, and yada yada yada. I'm just going to be talking about the information that the movie presents, and not everything that it presents connected to other medium. Alright, well, you got it? Okay, then let's get started. The plot of this movie involves Mewtwo, a clone of Mew, who is believed to be the first and most powerful Pokémon. Mewtwo obsessively questions his purpose, and eventually turns against the humans that created him, killing many of them in the process. The leader of Team Rocket, Giovanni, then tries to make Mewtwo his ultimate weapon, but Mewtwo eventually decides fuck that too, and escapes to the island where he was born, where he begins making an army of super strong Pokémon clones, and tries to overthrow humanity by becoming the greatest Pokémon and Pokémon trainer. Oh right, and then there's Ash, Misty, Brock, and Team Rocket who, other than Ash, do literally nothing throughout the entire movie. Honestly, there may as well not even be a plot at all. The plot is just the shallowest of puddles used to showcase the many different types of Pokémon in this movie. Really, the only somewhat interesting portion of the plot in this movie is in the opening 10 minutes, where the scientist who created Mewtwo tries to clone his deceased daughter Amber, and his obsession causes his wife to leave him. That idea is almost intriguing, but then all of a sudden random narrations! Unwarranted Pokemon battle! Attempts at comedy! Yeah, moving on. For the characters, again, there's really nothing to say. I mean, seriously, do I even need to describe these characters? You got Ash, the stubborn but good-hearted protagonist, Misty, the somewhat sharp-tongued girl, and Brock, the silly, lovelorn doofus. And of course, Ash's Pikachu, the lovable little mascot for this series. And Team Rocket, the bumbling duo of destruction who do absolutely nothing of any consequence, and they're talking Meowth. Oh, and don't forget these guys. What were their names? Who cares? And this nurse character, and Giovanni, and this person.
What the hell? Who in God's name are all these characters? Really, the only semi-interesting character in this is Mewtwo, who does have a somewhat thought-provoking line every now and then. But still, for every intriguing line he says, he utters about 20 others that are just standard villain fare. Honestly though, the characters aren't what important here, it's the Pokémon, and the creators knew this. Okay, so what's good about this movie? Well, the Pokémon look as awesome as ever. Even if you aren't well informed about every individual Pokémon, just looking at their neat designs and powers is always fun. Plus, the opening 10 minutes is actually kind of engaging. Unfortunately though, the English voiceovers do kind of suck out any emotional power this sequence may have had. In addition, while 99% of this movie is complete nonsense, the moral that Mewtwo purports at the end is actually a good moral. A damn good one, really. He asserts that the nature in which something is creative is irrelevant to their overall worth, and that the choices one makes is what truly defines them as a living being. That's some mature junk for such a ridiculous movie. So now, what's bad about this movie? Pretty much everything else. The plot? Nonsensical. The comedy? Atrocious. The characters? Boring as rock-flavored wafers. The other moral about being anti-violence? Absurd, considering the nature of the Pokémon series as a whole, where you enslave wondrous and magical beings and make them fight each other until they faint for matters of honor, like magical cockfighting. And really, in the end, that damn good moral about the circumstances of one birth I mentioned earlier doesn't even matter, because all the characters get their memory wiped. What the fuck? Now, I could go in and pick apart every single last bad thing in this movie, but in all honesty, I don't really feel like I have a right to. This is a movie for fans of Pokémon and children. I'm not in either demographic, so what right do I have to tear apart something that people hold so dear? If you love this movie because you have a special connection to it from when you were a starry-eyed youngster, then hey, more power to you. But I am completely with the critics at the time who panned this movie like it had gold nuggets inside. Pokémon the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, is a colossal, cringingly bad mess as a movie. But as a piece of Pokémon history, I suppose it gets a pass.
I give Pokémon the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, 1 eye out of 5. Which means it's, it's pretty bad. It's very bad. But for the Pokémon fan, hey, my rating might be higher. So, Pokémon the first movie. Is it watchable? Unless you have really heavily tinted glasses of nostalgia, or if you're a child, then no, I would say not. Is it enjoyable? Unless you like the designs of the Pokémon and you like the familiar characters, then no, absolutely not. Is it memorable? Well, Pokémon is still going on strong even after this movie, and I know it's gonna be around for a long, long time.
Should love one another. Oh, can we just pretend this war never began? We can try, brother, my brother.
Hey, thank you so much for watching EyeofSol's Bulbatube special. If you want to see more of my stuff, click the annotations in the videos. I post a new review every Friday, so check back in for more new videos.